In 2016, an art installation by the satirist Miriam Ella was pulled because it depicted members of the Sylvanian family being threatened by ISIS. It was on display at an event called Passion for Freedom, a festival that's all about freedom of the arts, but the police insisted that it must be withdrawn, warning that it could provoke an attack. And now, 8 years later, the same women behind that Passion for Freedom exhibition put on a new exhibit in New York, where Miriam's work finally got to be seen by the public. And Miriam Ella joins me now.
Hello.
Hello. First, I want to start with talking about the piece, because it's called ISIS in Sylvania.
Yes.
We remember the Sylvanian families, these sort of woodland creatures, very sweet,
very lovely
animals.
Yes.
What was your thought process behind it?
It was a response to kind of the terrorist attacks that were happening at the time. It was an artistic response. It just sort of came into my head. I spent a great deal of my childhood playing with Sylvanians.
Yes.
And one day I envisioned them being slaughtered. We
can now see one of your... It's a kind of a... It's a model, isn't it?
So this is the first one, yes.
We see all these creatures having a picnic, rabbits and mice and hedgehogs. In the background, a number of other woodland creatures dressed in ISIS costumes with an ISIS flag holding machine guns.
Yeah.
Some people would say that's quite provocative.
Yeah, of course, they're right.
Yeah, and of course that is the
and
point.
that's great.
So this was meant to be going on, and there's another image of a gay pride parade here with a drag kitten and a leather-clad badger on a leash. And up there on the ice cream kiosk we can see some... What are they, gerbils or something? Squirrels with machine guns.
I actually made their balaclavas out of the fingers of gloves.
Is that... So these are actually physically made items, right?
Yeah.
And of course, it's a striking juxtaposition. It's a striking image.
And it works so well. I shot it to look like a kind of Argos catalogue, sort of flat, soulless, and insipid.
I mean, it's very funny, but it also, we're looking at that, it does immediately just ring the right note, the cowardice in the face of terrorism.
Yes.
The idea that we're just going to carry on as normal.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's addressing.
Yeah, it's a childish approach.
It's a kind of like a fantasy world where all the animals are really getting on well, and there's no hatred here. And then right there in the corner, I chose not to depict actual violence. I just thought the contrast and the threat was more compelling.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because art is open to interpretation. There's all sorts of ways that could be interpreted.
Yes. Yep.
But the gallery was certainly behind it, but the police were not. So what happened? This was in the exhibition in 2016?
Yes. So I'd spent 2015 working on the project off the success of a book that I'd done that year with the Ladybird book revivals.
Yes.
So I went to the studio and spent a whole year working with Sylvanian families, which was like a dream come true.
Yes.
And they were finally prepared, and they were created as light boxes and displayed at this Passion for Freedom exhibition. I got a call from the organisers saying that the police had come down. It was in the Pall Mall Gallery, so I should say, near Buckingham Palace.
Yes. And
the police had come and said, this is far too provocative. And it was a free speech exhibition. There was it was freedom of expression. They said, this is far too provocative. We're going to have to take it down because it could incite a terrorist attack.
What, a bunch of hedgehogs?
A bunch of hedgehogs.
I mean,
balaclavas.
Is it not the case that the police, as far as I'm aware, have no training in art criticism?
Well, apparently they do. So they basically, they can't physically take it off the wall, but they can say you must put security around this piece of work, which will cost you £100,000.
That seems to be a common tactic.
That's a tactic that they do all the time because it could provoke X, Y and Z.
So you hear that on university campuses, whenever a speaker is cancelled, they say, no, we're not cancelling your free speech, we just can't afford the security that it would take.
Yeah, so this whole security scam is what they use to shut people down.
Well, I mean, when you read this, because I read the email correspondence where the police said it is not art, don't you feel, chastened by that judgment?
We should give them an art exhibition.
Absolutely.
It could be like the Weimar, like, this is art. This is not art. No, but the real point is that they were exercising their muscle to censor artists. But the weird irony of it is that obviously it was a freedom of expression. The whole point was artists from all around the world who come from very repressive totalitarian regimes showing their work. Whether you like it or not is, that's another point. But
so to play devil's advocate then, but what if you did cause some deep distress and offence to someone who'd happened upon the art gallery about free expression. They went in there. You know, aren't you responsible for their emotional reaction?
No, because I'm not responsible for people's response. There's nothing that you can do that everyone will like. Everyone knows that. Someone will be offended.
I mean, I'm trying to gather what it is specifically that the police had a problem with. Like, what it is. Did they give you any more information?
It's just too intelligent for them.
Perhaps that's the case. But you've got to do it in New York.
Yes.
And I suppose there are more protections for free speech in New York?
Yes, there are more protections for free speech. Or maybe it's just it was finally shown there. I mean, Channel 4 did pick it up and show it as part of a documentary with Trevor Phillips. This was some years ago, called Has Political Correctness Gone Too Far? So they showed it to, you know, a pop-up gallery in Shoreditch, I believe, and some Muslims came in and thought it was hilarious. So
yeah, the assumption that Muslim people would be upset. It's
so they create an environment where they say, I presume that this group of people will be offended, and therefore they can't. It's morally infantilising people, saying they're children that need to be protected.
And recently, one of your pieces has won an award.
Yes.
And this is can we have a look at this piece? This is the Cancel Culture Centre. Is that what it's called?
Oh wait, that wasn't it.
Oh no, I think they'll find it in a moment. But it's the Cancel Culture Centre. What's this piece about?
So it's inspired by British English Service wall maps, which were kind of educational guides of, you know, the post office or the farm. Or,
yes.
I think you guys know what I mean.
Yes.
And it was a control centre that was it was called the Cancel Control Centre. So it's all these men kind of cancelling people based on their emojis that come up of people that have been offended. Yes,
OK. There it is on the screen right now.
If you can see it there. And the top, the lights come... It's very 1960s. It's sort of painted in that way. It says, you know, that's problematic, that's offensive.
And, you know, you're seeing more and more of this, isn't it? Is this something that you particularly want to address in your art, this culture that is developing?
Yeah.
What concerns you about it?
Well, it's completely repressive, and it's deeply manipulative. So you can't...
Yeah.
The minute you say, this is my feelings, then there's no debate to be had.
And finally, on that...
Because they're invulnerable. Feelings are invulnerable, so how can I have an intelligent discussion about it?
And do you think... Just finally on that, do you think that satire and art is the best way to address this? Does it actually make a tangible difference?
It does. But then many people argue that we live in a world that's gone beyond satire anyway. So
yeah, well, there is
it's so absurd that
Well, Miriam, congratulations that the exhibition finally got on, and hopefully the police won't be visiting you again.
Knock, knock.
No. Thank you, Miriam. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.